All right, welcome to the rundown. We had a jam-packed NFL Sunday. I'm gonna do some Week One overreactions. I'm first gonna start off with my Seattle Seahawks. Just a brutal loss for us. We lost 17 to 13 at home against the San Francisco 49ers. And what makes it even worse is that San Francisco had almost everything going against them that game. George Kittle goes out after the first drive. Juwan Jennings busts his shoulder in the fourth quarter. He goes out. But despite all of that, Brock Purdy was airing it out. George Kittle, before he got out, he was getting separation. Ricky Pearsall got separation. He was just a killer for us, and I'll talk more about that later. Seattle's offense, they just wanted to establish the run. Charbonnet did an okay job running the ball. He got 12 carries for 47 yards. Kenneth Walker, he just had a rough day, 10 carries for 20 yards. And I thought that we ran the ball entirely too much. I'm not saying that it should be a thing where Sam Darnold should cook and he should just throw 35 times a game, but when you're only averaging 3.9 yards a carry, I think you should let your quarterback air it out a little bit more. If it was Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley or Brees Hall yesterday where you're just running roughshod on a team, sure, keep handing your running back the ball and let them cook, but that just wasn't the case. I just thought we were entirely too conservative. Darnold only threw 23 times. I would have liked to see him get around 30 pass attempts or a little bit more than 30 pass attempts. And if you look at San Francisco, they love to establish the run. Kyle Shanahan is a run first man. And McCaffrey, he was okay, got 69 yards on 22 carries, but because McCaffrey wasn't exactly running roughshod over us, Shanahan was like, okay, Brock, you can air it out. And he absolutely did air it out. And Darnold, that last drive, he looked pretty decent. He threw a 41-yard bomb to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And Darnold has shown that he can lead teams in the clutch. The man had 5 game-winning drives against Minnesota. So he's capable of doing things. I know he had a rough regular season finale last year against Detroit. He had a rough playoffs against the Rams, but I don't think that should stop us from airing out the ball. And I hope that going further, that they let Darnold air it out if the running backs aren't able to do what they're supposed to do. And another thing that pissed me off about this loss is that San Francisco choked 2 field goals, or Jake Moody specifically choked 2 field goals. Actually, one of them was absolutely his fault. The second one, that was on the offensive line unit and just the unit as a whole. So I'm not going to be too harsh against them on that one, but he did struggle last year. I mean, they showed a stat last year where he missed around 10 field goals. I mean, having your kicker miss 10 field goals, that'll bite you because the margins in the NFL are that freaking small. And if you're costing your team 3 to 6 points, that'll come back to bite you in the win-loss column. So hopefully he can get that figured out, or they might just have to cut him and try someone else out. Hopefully that doesn't happen to him, but who knows? Uh, Brock, he also threw 2 interceptions. That was another thing that was going against San Francisco. And again, we couldn't capitalize on that all that much. We were able to get a field goal off of one of his interceptions, but the other one we just went three and out and we just couldn't do anything about it. We should have won this game by like 10 to 13 points, but we weren't able to do it. And I know on the scoreboard it says that Seattle's defense only gave up 17 to San Francisco, but I feel it's 23. So if you look at it from San Francisco's perspective, we should have lost by 10 points instead of 4 points. And that's what just irks me even more. That last drive, we definitely did have a chance to win it, but Darnold's in the red zone. He's looking to find a wide open receiver. Bosa just pushes Abe Lucas, and Darnold just bangs his elbow into Lucas, and he drops the ball. It's a fumble. Game over. San Francisco ices it and wins it. That one I honestly can't get too mad about because there were just many other things that cost us the game. And Darnold was in the pocket. He just didn't see Abe Lucas. It's not like he threw a dumb interception. If he threw a dumb interception, I would have been mad about that. But those types of things, that happens. So Not too mad about that. But this loss, I'm absolutely overreacting to it, and I truly wonder if we're going to make the playoffs or not. And hopefully, from 5 to 6 weeks from now, I look dumb and we're like 4-2, 5-1, and this is just a footnote in history. But I don't know. We just have these dumb losses. We had it at the end of the Pete Carroll regime, where just 3 to 4 times a year we just lost against teams we shouldn't have. And I know it's the NFL and that you're going to lose against teams that you're not supposed to, but I feel for the good teams it happens once or maybe twice, but that's it at max. Us, it happened like 3, 4 times, and we couldn't even beat the big boy team. So that came back to bite us. And then we were like 9-8 the last 2 seasons. And last year, we lost against the Giants, and that bit us back huge time. We should have beaten the Giants last year. And if we beat them, we have a chance to clinch a wild card spot. But we were pretty much eliminated about 2 weeks left in the regular season. So that was unfortunate. And it just seems like this time around, is it going to be the same thing where we lose against teams that we shouldn't? Because the margins in the NFL are freaking small. I talked about the Giants last year and how that cost us. Is this San Francisco loss going to cost us? It might. And I wouldn't be mad if San Francisco had everything with them. If they had Kittle, they had Jennings, they don't miss the 2 field goals. I would have been like, okay, San Francisco is just the better team than us. But that wasn't the case. They had a lot going against them, and usually losing your tight end and wide receiver and missing 2 field goals. Usually teams lose in that scenario, especially against good teams, because good teams, they take advantage of that, but we just couldn't take advantage of it whatsoever. And I'm kind of wondering about Mike McDonald, because we didn't beat any playoff teams last year. I mean, we beat Denver in week 1, but that was Bo Nix's first game, and Denver, they needed everything going for them in order to make the playoffs. They had to beat the Chiefs, who just played their bench players because they had already locked up the number 1 seed in the regular season finale to get into the playoffs, and they got in as a 7 seed. And I'm not counting the Rams win because they had locked up the number 4 seed and they were just playing their bench players. And even in that freaking win, it took us everything we had to beat them. So that definitely doesn't impress me whatsoever. And Mike McDonald hasn't shown me that he can win against the big boy teams. And it seems that he has losses where he loses against teams that he's not supposed to. And I was willing to give Mike McDonald grace last year because I thought the goal for us was to make the playoffs. But I was like, okay, he's implementing his culture. He's implementing his schemes. He needs to get the players that he wants. So second year is when we can really judge him. And he has the players that he wants. And so far, it hasn't been great. Now, I know we were able to intercept Purdy twice, but in all reality, San Francisco should have scored 23 points. And scoring 23 points against a team where you lose your tight end and wide receiver, that doesn't impress me too much. It's kind of mediocre. So, yeah, and this new offense, it was supposed to be great, but I know it's only week 1, but I mean, scoring 13 points, that just concerns me. And I saw a tweet where Clint Kubiak did not do any play action whatsoever. He only did it twice. And when we did it twice, we got pretty good results from it, but he just didn't want to see to do it. So hopefully that's a thing that he can do going forward. Next week, we're playing Pittsburgh. That's not an easy out. I know that they gave up 32 against the Jets, but Mike Tomlin is a damn good head coach. And if they gave up 32 against the Jets, we should at least score in the high 20s. And if we can't do that, and if we lose against Pittsburgh, the season's over, and I'm going to have some serious questions about McDonald. And if we don't have a winning record, I think McDonald should go, and John Schneider should absolutely go, and we should just start afresh. So next week against Pittsburgh is an absolute must-win. If not, season is over, and we're absolutely not going to make the playoffs because the San Francisco 49ers, they have a Mickey Mouse schedule. The Rams, they're a pretty good team. And last year, the 49ers sucked, and they had injuries, and we couldn't make the playoffs then. So, I mean, going forward, I mean, my thought process, if I was an owner, would be, is Mike McDonald, excuse me, that guy? And so far, it's to be determined, and we'll find out against Pittsburgh. Now, I want to talk about Buffalo and Baltimore. That was a great game. And Buffalo, they just showed a lot of resiliency. They also had a lot going against them, not in terms of injuries, but just in terms of where they were in the game. Baltimore, they started a little bit slow, but second quarter, they put up 20 points. And at the end of the second quarter, that's when Buffalo showed me that, okay, this team is not going to quit and lay down. Around 31 seconds left in the second quarter, Josh Allen was able to get his team into field goal range, and it's 20-13 going into halftime. And Buffalo absolutely needed to get some points on the board because Baltimore had the ball in the third quarter and they were able to score on it. So Buffalo absolutely needed to score. And I know it didn't screw Buffalo over in the end because they won the game 41-40, but I didn't like it when they got their touchdown. They went for two. I know that they got a flag and they were closer to the red zone, but I just don't like it when teams go for two just for the sake of it. I mean, it just felt like, okay, yeah, we can do this. And because they missed that 2 point conversion, they had to pretty much go for two throughout the game when they got a touchdown, and they just couldn't capitalize on whatsoever. And when you don't score on 2 pointers, then you're kind of setting yourself back and your defense has to do more. Now, kudos to Buffalo's defense because they were able to help Buffalo's offense out, but I don't think that's something that you should rely upon. And I think that you should take the extra point unless for some reason you have a very, very good 2 point conversion team, then that's different. But Buffalo was like 0 for 3 on 2 pointers, and hopefully that's not something that they make a habit of. And I know Baltimore lost, but Lamar and Derrick Henry, they were just cooking, man. Derrick Henry was running roughshod over them. He had a 53-yard run, and he had a 30-yard touchdown run. And even though Lamar didn't throw the ball that much, he threw under 20 attempts, excuse me. He was explosive, and he was just throwing it down the field. And he had some big throws to Zay Flowers and to DeAndre Hopkins for that touchdown pass. And Buffalo, they were down 15 in the fourth quarter. And on those crucial third downs, Buffalo's defense, they were stuffing Derrick Henry and Lamar to give so that Buffalo could get the ball back. Baltimore's one big mistake was that fumble by Derrick Henry with about 3 minutes left. Baltimore was up 40-32. If you go down the field, you can either kick a field goal, which would ice the game, or just run the clock out, and that would ice the game. But that fumble, it cost them. And sometimes when you make one mistake, it'll cost you because, like I've said before, the margins in the NFL are that freaking small. And when you have a superstar quarterback like Josh Allen, who won the MVP last year, he'll come back to bite you. And that's absolutely what he did. He did come back to bite them because he was able to score fast, got a touchdown. Buffalo's defense on the next position was able to hold up. And then Josh Allen just marched them right down the field and was able to get the field goal. So, kudos to Buffalo for having resiliency. And unlike Seattle, I'm not going to overreact to Baltimore blowing that 15-point lead. Baltimore has shown that they can win games in the regular season. Lamar has shown that he can win games in the regular season. I know that the discourse is going to be, is Lamar Jackson a choker? But for the regular season, I'm going to let that be. He's shown that he can win big time there. It's just about the playoffs for him and seeing if he can come through in that front. Regular season, not worried about that at all. Lamar, if you put a good team around him, he's going to win 12, 13, 14 games. This is just one loss. So I think that they'll put that aside, and I think Baltimore is going to be fine. But the only thing that does concern me about Baltimore is Josh Allen threw the ball 46 times, and despite that, he only took one sack for 5 yards. With a defense like Baltimore, I expect more. Lamar threw the ball 19 times and there were 2 sacks. And to be fair, he was scrambling a lot, and he had that crazy one scramble in the fourth quarter on a 3rd and 10 where the Bills almost sack him for 20 yards, but he's just able to escape the rush and he gets a 15-yard gain out of it. So Baltimore's defense is going to have to do a better job of getting to the quarterback, especially when the quarterback is throwing 46 times. But other than that, the offense looked pretty damn good. Lamar was throwing the ball down the field. Derrick Henry was running roughshod, and unfortunately, he had that one mistake that cost them. But other than that, not too worried about it. Josh Allen is a tremendous player, and I'm sure that Baltimore's defense will be better in their next games. It's just all about the playoffs for them. Now, I want to talk about the Steelers and the Jets. The Steelers win in a close one, 34-32, and it was kind of a comeback of sorts. And Aaron Rodgers, he played well, 22 of 30, 244 yards and 4 touchdowns, kind of turning back the clock a little bit. Justin Fields, I was really, really impressed with him. He was 16 for 22 for 188 yards. And I got to say, I'm glad that he played well because he's just been bouncing around the league, and hopefully he can make the Jets his home. He ran for 48 yards and he was just making big time throws. And I was kind of concerned at first at the beginning of that game because there was a 3rd and 11 in the first quarter and they just ran the ball. And I was thinking, like, geez, are they going to let him throw the ball whatsoever? Because Brees Hall was running roughshod over them in the first series of the game. He had like 30 yards. And on a 3rd and 11, though, you got to throw the ball. And I was thinking, geez, do they not trust him at all? Because that's been the knock on Fields, is just throwing the ball. But they did let him air it out after that. The Steelers, on the other hand, they were terrible running the ball. They only had 53 yards as a team. And Justin Fields had 48 yards by himself. So that kind of shows the disparity in the Jets running game and the Steelers running game. And because of that, Arod had to throw, and he looked a little bit like himself. He also got sacked 4 times, but he was able to get back up, and that impressed me considering that he's only 41 years old. The Steelers' defense, it just didn't look good whatsoever. I mean, the Jets definitely had a good running game, and I don't know if it was just a mirage, but the Jets were able to go up and down the field with them. And who knows, maybe they're a decent offensive team and we'll look back at this loss being like, okay, well, they gave up 32 to the Jets, but the Jets are a pretty decent team. But I highly doubt that's what it's going to be. And there was just a whole bunch of like undisciplinedness with them like fighting on punt returns and just like getting into each other's faces. And hopefully that's not a concern moving forward. But what I will say is that Jalen Ramsey played extremely well. Um, he did a good job of covering Garrett Wilson. He only got like 95 yards, and Garrett Wilson is a hell of a receiver. And there was a crucial throw where Fields throws it to Garrett Wilson, but Jalen Ramsey immediately tackles him, and he's not able to get the ball and catch it. So kudos to Jalen Ramsey. But I have to give the Steelers offense some credit. Arthur Smith, he did do some creative stuff in the end zone. I just don't like what they have offensively in terms of the wide receivers. I don't think they have a solid number two next to DK, and their running game was awful. I know Austin made some big plays, but I just don't know if he's going to consistently be that number two guy. And it just feels like Pittsburgh can't figure their offense out for the past 4 or 5 years. And I don't know. I think even this year with A-Rod, they're going to be a bottom tier offensive team. And I just don't know also how long he's going to be able to take hits because that offensive line isn't any good either. But I still got them making the playoffs because Mike Tomlin can just pull magic out of his hat and make the playoffs no matter who's at quarterback, and even if he is fielding a bottom tier offense. Now I want to talk about the Green Bay and Detroit game. Green Bay won 27-13, and the worst fears came to fruition. It looks like they're really going to struggle, especially with Ben Johnson going out, and that offensive line was terrible yesterday. It looks like Detroit's offensive line may struggle. I know the Packers have a pretty good defense, but with Ragnow going out and with Zeitler going to Tennessee in free agency, it's it's not looking good. And because the offensive line was terrible, the running game was also terrible. I mean, that's been a hallmark of Detroit's offenses, or at least one of the hallmarks of Detroit's offense, is just establishing the run and just running the ball down people's throats. But Gibbs and Montgomery, they just couldn't get anything going. Montgomery had 11 carries for 25 yards. Gibbs had 9 carries for 19 yards. The Lions were able to get to the red zone a few times. Goff threw like a dumb interception that cost them either 3 or 6 points. I don't think it would have helped them in the end. It just would have made the score closer. Green Bay was winning that game regardless. The Lions were also 5 of 15 on third down. That's not going to cut it against a good team like Green Bay or just the other good teams in the NFL. You have to be able to convert on third down, and if you can't convert on third down, you're not going to be able to win very much in this league. The Packers, on the other hand, though, they looked freaking amazing in that first half. Jordan Love, he just had all day to throw the ball. He could just look and survey, and he had some deep throws, man. He had a couple 20 plus yard throws, and he also had a 48 yarder. I thought like there were times throughout the game where he got a little bit greedy trying to go deep, but I thought other than that he played well. And the Packers receiving corps is proving that they can be a threat in the NFC and in the NFL. And this is without Christian Watson, so the future is definitely bright for them. And my pick of them winning the NFC North looks pretty good. But Detroit, that offensive coordinator, he didn't prove to be impressive. And I know that they had a lot going against them with the offensive line, but didn't look too creative to me like it did when they had Ben Johnson. And they promoted from within. And I thought that would maybe help because so that Jared Goff wouldn't have to like go to a new playbook, because I know for a quarterback it could be annoying to just go to a new playbook. But I don't know, maybe it would have been worth it to scour the NFL and see if there were any good hotshot offensive coordinators out there. But they decided to go with then, and who knows, maybe it's just one loss and I'm overreacting. But I just don't think this is going to bode well for Detroit whatsoever. And they have to play Green Bay one more time. Minnesota, I know they have a rookie, J.J. McCarthy, but Brian Flores is a damn good defensive coordinator. And Chicago, they're going to be better under Ben Johnson. I don't have them making the playoffs, but I still think that they're going to be way better than they were last year. And Chicago gave them some fits, at least that one Thanksgiving game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Lions. I predicted them making the playoffs, but I'm starting to get concerned that may not happen because this was just a bad loss. And it's not like they lost a close game. They pretty much got blown out and they kind of got bodied. So we'll see what happens. Now I want to talk about Kansas City and the Chargers. The Chargers went 27-21, and this was a good one. The Chiefs, they just looked so unprepared in the beginning. Hollywood Brown missed a crucial catch on a third down. Mahomes overthrew Tyquan Thornton a couple times on deep balls down the sideline. On that crossing route, not Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce, they bang into each other, and then Xavier Worthy busts his shoulder and he's out for the rest of the game, and who knows, he may be out for a little bit. Andy Reid did say that he was day-to-day, but I don't know if he's going to be able to play next week against the Eagles. And this happened throughout the game. There were also some holding calls on the offensive line, and the offensive line has been a big issue, at least last year. I mean, they did fix the left tackle issue. I mean, Josh Simmons had 2 or 3 offensive holding calls, but I'm not going to hold that against him too much because it was his first ever NFL game and it was in a foreign country. So I'm not going to chastise him for that. Jawan Taylor, on the other hand, though, he had quite a few holding calls or just false starts. And Simmons is fine because he's a rookie, but Taylor is in his 7th year now, and you'd think he'd be better by now, but he just didn't have a good game against the Chargers. And the Chiefs couldn't even get on the board until like the second quarter. But they did try and come back. But Justin Herbert, he was just freaking awesome. He was 25 of 34, 318 yards. And I know there's been a lot of talk about him, whether or not he can win the big one in the playoffs for sure. And he's had a few regular season losses where he's kind of shrunk in primetime games, but he showed up this time around. The wide receivers impressed me, and Ladd, Quentin Johnson, and Keenan Allen. He just made some big catches, and they just made big time catches. And but the Chiefs did give them a run for their money at the end. Mahomes was able to scramble on key third downs, but Justin Herbert, he came up in the clutch. The Chargers were up 27-21 with about 2.5 minutes left. Herbert gets sacked for 5 yards on a 2nd and 9, and it's 3rd and 14. And I'm thinking, oh no, the Chargers aren't going to be able to convert. They're going to have to punt, and Mahomes is going to get the ball back. He's going to lead them down the field. He's going to get a touchdown in a last second win like he always freaking does. But that's not what happened at all. Herbert drops back. I mean, Chris Jones tries to tackle him, but he's just not able to. Herbert escapes him. He gets the first down. He slides. Game over. He ices it. And kudos to him because that was one of the biggest clutch plays of his career as far as I can remember in primetime games. So hopefully he's able to do that going forward because there have been times in Justin Herbert's career where he may be up big, but then a team starts to make a comeback and he starts to crumble. But that didn't happen this time around. So good for him. He showed poise and he didn't get rattled like he does sometimes. And who knows? Maybe with Jim Harbaugh now, it's looking like a new era and they're going to be able to win more primetime games. But I am concerned about the Chiefs. Like I said before, they got the Eagles next week. Worthy is day to day. Don't know if that shoulder is going to be fine. And they have a gauntlet of a 6-game schedule. They got the Eagles next week, the Giants after that, Ravens, Jags, Lions, and Raiders. The Eagles and Ravens, that's not going to be an easy out. So they got their work cut out for them. The only team that I can definitely say that they're going to win is against the Giants. And I think they definitely beat the Jags. And with the Lions struggling, but I mean, they can absolutely lose against the Lions. I think they beat the Lions. I think the Raiders are actually going to be a little bit of a tough out. So Raiders, Ravens, and Eagles, they have to win at least two of those three. And hopefully they're able to be 4-2 because with Rashee Rice being out for 6 games, they have to be able to be steady. And hopefully once he comes back, their offense can be better. But now with Worthy going out, they may be in trouble, but you can never doubt Mahomes. Now I want to talk about the Eagles and Cowboys. Eagles went 24-20. I first want to talk about Spitgate. I mean, that was crazy. When they first showed it on the broadcast, I was like, why the hell are they throwing this guy out? And Mike Tirico was like, did he spit on him? And as you know, he spat on him. And at first, people thought that Dak was just talking trash to him and Jalen Carter just went up to him and spit at him. But the broadcast later in the game showed that Dak was in between his two O-linemen, and Carter was also talking shit to the rookie Tyler Booker, and Dak takes a spit at the ground, and Carter thought that he was spitting at him. And I believe Dak when he says that he wouldn't spit on anyone ever. And then Carter goes up to him, they jaw a little bit, and he spits at him. And that's just a dumb thing by Jalen Carter. I mean, spitting on someone is one of the worst things that you can ever do to somebody. But I don't know, I guess this young generation doesn't view it that way. And obviously he got ejected, and he deserved to get ejected. But this game, other than all those theatrics, was pretty good. First half, both teams decided that we're just not going to play any defense whatsoever, and both offenses were able to go up and down the field. And the Eagles were up 24-20 at the half. Actually, 21-20 at the half. With about 4 minutes and 44 seconds in the third quarter, there was a lightning delay, so The game was delayed for like an hour and like 20 minutes, but both teams, I mean, at least the defenses came to play in that second half, especially Dallas's defense. It looked like Dallas's defense was absolutely getting cooked, but they started blitzing more in the second half, and they were able to get to Hurts a little bit more, even though Hurts made some crazy scrambles on key downs, and that's why they were able to win the game because Hurts, even though he didn't have the big gaudy stats and he wasn't airing it out, he played mistake-free football, and when he needed to use his legs, he used his legs, and because of that, they were able to get the dub. So kudos to him. And for Dallas, CeeDee Lamb, I mean, overall, he had a good game, 7 receptions for 110 yards, but he had three crucial drops, and two of them were in the first quarter. One was a third down, and the other one was a bomb where if he was able to haul it in, they would have gotten in the red zone. But he dropped those, and because of that, that really cost him the game. And I think if he does catch those balls, Dallas definitely has a good chance to win, especially if he caught that bomb in the fourth quarter. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to get it. One thing I will say about the Cowboys defense is that they did shut down AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. So that's definitely good. So it shows that in their secondary, they have a lot of talent. Brian Schottenheimer, he also impressed me as a play caller. Seemed creative. CD got his targets, but like I said, he had the drops. And kudos to Dak for being good about the drops. There have been times where at least CD has gone on Dak on the sideline, but Dak was pretty classy about it, and he talked about how, like, yeah, he had the drops, but I'm going to continue to trust him because he puts the work in. So good for him on being a good quarterback, and also good for him when Jalen Carter spit in on him, not like engaging in fisticuffs because a lot of other people would have absolutely done that. So he's a first class guy. Offense, I thought the offense was going to be pretty good throughout this regular season, but they look even better than I thought. Uh, Defense still doesn't impress me. Secondary is good, but I'm not sure about that D line. And with them trading Micah, it looks like that's going to come back to bite them. And with them having Jaden Daniels in their division, Jalen Hurts in their division, it's going to be tough. So we'll see if Dallas's defense is able to hold up. But if they're able to be like slightly above average and their offense is pretty potent with Dak, CD, and George Pickens and the running game, they have a shot of making the playoffs. I still think they'll probably be a sixth or seventh seed, but they have a shot. But I'm skeptical that their defense can hold up. But anyways, that's it for me. I will be back Wednesday. I'll be talking about tonight's game, Vikings and Bears. I'll also talk about a couple other things that happened this Sunday that I wasn't able to get to. But thank you so much for listening, and I will see you this Wednesday.